Well, hello there, budgeteers. Coach Nino Villa here, disciple of Christ, husband, father, and financial coach. And welcome back to the New Money Habits podcast. Can I start today's episode off by just giving you a little bit of an update about what is going on in my world? Because I'll tell you, it has been a very busy season. It's a season of travel and a season of new adventures and planning for big things coming up. And so there's just a lot going on. If you are a loyal listener, then you may have noticed that we've played a couple of best of episodes the last couple of weeks because that's how busy this season has been. And it really kind of started at the end of September into the middle of October, starting with traveling the family to New York to be a part of my younger brother's wedding. And so that was an incredible time to get away and beat the heat of the deserts of Arizona, trade them in for some really nice weather up in Western New York. The beginning of October, it was 75 to 80 degrees every single day that we were out there, which is above average for this time of year. So it was just an incredible visit weather-wise. Lots of uneventful travel, which is exactly the way you want to have it. There was some turbulence. It did bother a couple members of the family a little bit, but for the most part, it was smooth sailing. A couple of delays coming back, but nothing that we couldn't easily manage. So not that big of a deal. But upon our return, the kids went into their fall break and they had work to make up from their time away from school, and they were still in the middle of their sports seasons. And so lots of swim meets and cross country meets, and it just a very busy time. But it all kind of culminated yesterday, and that's why I wanted to start this episode with just kind of an update, because yesterday I think is very significant to a number of different people in different stages of their lives trying to manage their money wisely. Yesterday, we got to sit down with my daughter's guidance counselor. Now, she's just a sophomore in high school, but she goes to a IB school. So that is a international baccalaureate program school. And in their sophomore year, they're thinking about how to position sophomores for their junior and senior year to align to their post-high school plans and goals. And my daughter's post-high school plans and goals have changed over the last 12 to 18 months. If you would have asked my daughter 18 months ago what she was going to do after high school, I think she would have told you that she would have been more on a path toward entrepreneurship, trying to find gig style work. She enjoys the performing arts, and so anything that would have allowed her to exercise voice acting skills and that sort of thing is what she was mostly interested in. And we've had conversations about, what it'll take to make something like that work. Very encouraging, but also very realistic, just so that she can manage her expectations around, what is it going to look like to be successful doing something like that. And over the last 18 months, she's really grown her interest in possibly going to college to study something, and just realizing that she is completely enthralled by weather and storms and watching movies like Twisters, and not wanting to become a storm chaser, but definitely intrigued by how storms form, the power behind them. what to do about the destruction that they leave. And so she's growing this interest in wanting to study meteorology. And we sit down with the counselor yesterday and we kind of mentioned this. And leading up to this conversation yesterday, I've been doing a little bit of research in what schools offer meteorology degrees and what kind of career paths can one take, and realizing that, of course, you could be like your local weather person, but what else could you do with a meteorology degree? In learning that there are so many different fields within the field to get into. And so doing all this research and getting kind of excited for my daughter, um, helping her to kind of plan, what college, what program, and of course, inevitably, we have to talk about, well, how are we going to pay for it? Because here's a little peek behind the curtain. As much as I talk about managing money well and having to um, have a plan for your finances, one of the things that we have not done a very good job of as we have worked our way out of debt and then tried to manage um, self employment for a number of years is I haven't set aside college tuition funds the way I thought I would have. I thought that I would have contributed to college savings a lot sooner and that there would have been at least tens of thousands of dollars at the ready. I would have thought, maybe like $40,000 minimum, maybe closer to 60 or $80,000 to contribute to our kids' education. But that just hasn't happened. And I'm not going to beat myself up about it. Do I wish it were different? Sure. But there are other paths to funding your kids' college that doesn't have to put them in crippling debt. See, I still want to help my daughter avoid getting into the same crippling debt that I did. I had $60,000 in student loan debt. My wife had 30, and so together we had like $90,000. Uh, Mine was 60 and change, hers was 30 and change, so it was closer to 100. But so we had $100,000 in student loan debt, and I do not want that for my daughter. So we talk about, what are some of the other ways we're going to be able to do that? Well, some of it is through scholarships. She is currently a 4.0 student, and so academically, she'll be able to apply for and hopefully get scholarships. We talked about she's an athlete too, and so athletically, being a student athlete and somebody who has good academic grades, might open up additional opportunities for scholarships. We talk about going local, staying in state, going to a school here in the state in which we live, because those schools offer different scholarship and grant programs to high school graduates in the area. And so that'll reduce some of the college tuition. But with the conversation that we had with the counselor yesterday, part of all of this is that she can actually be in congruent enrollment. She can be taking courses, college level courses through Arizona State University in her junior and senior year of high school. And she will pay a much smaller, quote, tuition than she would if she took the courses at the college level. And so this is one of the ways that we can reduce some money that's going to be spent on college. We were looking at the program that she's interested in. The program she's interested in, of course, is 120 semester credit hours, pretty standard there, made up of 38 classes. And of those 38 classes, there's an opportunity to transfer in as many as 11 classes. So imagine being able to transfer in 11 classes. That's just about one full year of her program. I believe it was like 34 credit hours. So 11 classes, 34 credit hours as a potential. So this is where planning her junior and senior year becomes a big deal for how it will impact the overall cost of college. Another thing we were looking at just recently is because she's such a good student, she's an athlete, um, there is an opportunity to join an ROTC program, uh, possibly with the Air Force, Army, maybe whichever, but to join the ROTC and get scholarships through them in which they either pay for most or all of her college with, of course, a commitment to enlist for, a certain period of time, typically 4 years or so. And so this conversation, this very exciting conversation about her future just got me thinking about, boy, oh boy, we haven't saved for college the way I would have liked, but there are still avenues that we can pursue to keep the costs of college, her out of pocket costs, my daughter's out of pocket costs of college, we can reduce them to very little and possibly even zero. And so we have to also then start planning for, well, what if there are some out of pocket costs? And this is where we have had conversations about being able to put in some work hours in her junior and senior year so that she can contribute to her own college tuition and costs. And again, it just means that there are multiple paths to funding college. And so that I didn't know I was going to talk about funding college, but I think I want to talk just a little bit about all of these different paths for funding college because it is so right now. It is very, very relevant. And I think in part, the first part I want to talk about is I want to unpack what I said a few moments ago about I'm not going to beat myself up for not being where I want to be. I think too often there's this guilt and shame associated with not being able to put our kids through college. And in part, colleges have just become unnecessarily expensive. Oftentimes, their tuition prices just seem to happen to match the amount that the federal government is willing to provide to a student in student loans. And as that number has gone up, as the number that the government is willing to give students for college has gone up, it's interesting how tuition has stayed right there with it, matching it. So I'm not going to feel badly about not necessarily having tens of thousands of dollars saved for my daughter's college tuition. Instead, I'm going to empower and encourage my daughter to make informed decisions, such as which classes to take in her junior and senior year, with the possibility of being able to transfer those directly into a college program, saving her time and money there, having conversations with her about how she can contribute to her own educational costs through employment, getting a job and saving and saving up to contribute to tuition. Part of getting a job might also be find an employer that is willing to cover some or all of the costs for you to go to school. And that leads us to the conversation about, maybe the Air Force ROTC. If making an agreement to enlist and serve for 4 years with them means they're willing to pay for your education, that might be the way you want to go. Because not only getting the education, the college education, not only is that incredible, but what you will learn through the ROTC program, and then what you will learn through your 4 years of enlistment, I mean, these are great options. These are great options, and each one of them empowers my daughter to be an active participant in the planning for her college and college costs. I'm not just showing up with a check for tens of thousands of dollars and saying, "Hey, where do you want to go? Go wherever you want." She is an active participant. And it's going to, and it means she's going to have skin in the game. She's going to have her own blood, sweat, and tears going into making college happen if it's what she ultimately wants, that it will set her up for more success at the college level. She'll take it more seriously. And that's coming from somebody who has direct experience with the opposite. I came from a low income family. I got Pell Grants to go to school early on in my college career, and I just didn't take it seriously. I failed classes and I had to retake them. And that, of course, costs more than doing it right the first time. And so a very timely conversation that I thought, right, I bet there's a lot of other parents out there who, whether you're looking in the rearview mirror and you're beating yourself up for not being able to set up your kids the way that you had wanted to, I encourage you to let go of that guilt. If you're a parent who currently has like a high school student or even a middle school student, and you're kind of looking just a few years ahead, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm not where I want to be, I want to remind you there are many other avenues to help with the costs of college. And if you're a younger family with little ones and you're looking ahead, I would encourage you, you have time on your side. This is something I knew 15 years ago when my daughter was born. I knew I had time on my side. The problem with Nino is whenever Nino knows that he has time on his side, Nino procrastinates. So that's just a little learn from my mistakes type of encouragement. If you are younger and you have, it doesn't even matter your age, if you have young children, you have time on your side, but contribute to something. Open up a 529 college savings account. Put $50 or $100 a month away into it. Get it invested in a way that it will earn you 8, 10, 12, 20% interest annually, and grow that money between now and the time they go to school. Even if you don't, remember scholarships, employer reimbursement, the military, kids getting a job and contributing to their own college, starting off at a community college or starting off with these congruent enrollments, often called dual enrollment. But I found out yesterday that dual enrollment has a very specific definition. It means that the teachers at the high school are teaching college level course, when that is not the case. When the student is actually taking courses from the professor at the college, it's congruent enrollment. But congruent enrollment is going to save us thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. Instead of paying per credit hour and then multiplying that by 3 or 4 credit hours, we pay one flat fee. A flat fee of, I'd have to go through the paperwork, but it was like either $150 or $250 per class. Not per credit hour, per class. Think about that. She takes 10 classes, it's $2,500 for 10 classes. Okay. So Let that be an encouragement to you today. Leave guilt and shame behind. Embrace different perspectives. Embrace thinking outside of the box. And maybe some of these are not even that far outside of the box, right? Congruent enrollment, not that far outside of the box. That is a growing trend where high school students are taking college level courses and completing those at the high school level for less money, saving them time and money once they get into their degree program. It's not so far outside of the box to think about having your son or daughter enroll into the military and getting military benefits to pay for their education. That is not so far outside the box. Scholarships, I think scholarships, obviously are not outside of the box. Lots of people know about scholarships, but I don't think many people know just how many different types of scholarships are out there, and that your junior and your senior in high school should apply to scholarships like it's a part-time job. That they should just sit down and research all the different types of scholarships that they may be eligible for, and then apply for every single one that they're eligible for. And they're going to get a lot of rejection letters, but they're going to get some acceptance letters, and then they're going to get some money. And it's going to help pay lots of different opportunities for your children to get involved. Find some part-time work, save some money, contribute to their college education that way. Save themselves some money by possibly starting off at a community college and transferring those credits in later. And if they can find an employer that will actually pay to put them through school, all the better, whether that's through like a tuition reimbursement program, or if it's something where the employer will upfront the costs of tuition. And then the last case scenario is student loans, but I hesitate even saying them. I know how much I hate mine. I know how much I hate mine. Sometimes in small doses a necessary evil. I think I think the problem becomes when it becomes the sole funding option. When student loans become the sole funding option, when I'm going to take out loans to pay for college, and that's like the only thing I'm going to do, I think that sets somebody up for failure. But if it was a small part, if tuition every year was, let's say, $40,000 a year, and if you had to take out $40,000 a year for 4 years, and you left school with $160,000 in student loan debt, you've set yourself up for failure. But if your tuition is $40,000 a year, and through scholarships and other funding options, contributing to it a little bit yourself, if all of a sudden what you had to come up with every year was, say, even $10,000, and you did that for 4 years, $40,000, still not in love with that idea. But $40,000 is not 160. $40,000 is not 160. Take a moment and crunch some numbers just to give you a sense of the monthly financial responsibility. Take out a student loan for $160,000 versus taking out a student loan for 40. We're going to conservatively give it a 6% interest rate, and we're going to say 10-year term. When you graduate, you go into repayment, you're looking at making payments of $1,776 a month. 17, almost $1,800 a month. That's ridiculous. Versus 40,000, you're looking at a payment of $445 a month. I don't want you to be strapped with $445, but I certainly don't want you to be strapped with a student loan payment of $1,800. And please do yourself a favor, do me a favor. Don't concern yourself with these forgiveness programs. When you make a decision as to whether or not you're going to borrow some money to help put yourself through school, I want you to just think about what are the terms. The repayment terms are usually 10 years, and you can average about a 6% interest rate. So what does that look like? Don't concern yourself with, no, I'll pay it over 20 years instead of 10. Don't concern yourself with, well, there's forgiveness programs, and so maybe don't concern yourself with any of that. Ask yourself, do you really want to be on the hook for $160,000 worth of debt? And ask yourself, like, did the education you receive put you in a position to make $160,000 a year? Because if you're making $50,000 a year trying to pay back $160,000, it's going to be crippling. That is crippling debt. It is going to be so incredibly difficult to get out of it. And so then what's going to happen is you're going to take advantage of income-based repayment in which you're not even paying the interest. So your loan actually grows over time. And that's why student loans are so incredibly dangerous. And there's other options. There are other options. So explore those other options. If you need help exploring other options for helping to put your children through college and help to fund it, go ahead and schedule your free discovery session with me. And we'll take a look at what's going on in your world. What's your timeline look like? For me, I have a daughter who is in her sophomore year. My timeline is 2 years. 2 years, I better figure out and help her figure out how are we getting this funded? Because I do not have tens of thousands of dollars, and I certainly don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars saved, ready to go. So we have to do something different. And I have another one right behind her. I'm an 11-year-old, currently in 6th grade. So sure, I got 6 years with him. But like I said, I know Nino well enough to know that when Nino says, oh, he's got 6 years, he will wake up one day, 4 of those years will have gone by, and he too will be staring down a 2-year runway with a sophomore going into his junior year, trying to figure out how I'm going to send the second one to college. And college is not always the option. Can we also acknowledge that? The only reason I'm having this conversation today is because we sat down yesterday with the guidance counselor, and my daughter is more so considering college now than she ever has. In the Villa household, college is an option because there's an option to be an entrepreneur. There's an option to go to work. There's an option to learn a trade and then move into that field. So there are options. College is not a requirement. It was not a requirement for me. I eventually went on to do it. So I would rather my children, if they're going to go to college, I'd rather them just do it right out of high school and get it done. I did not do that. I delayed, and I suffered the consequences of that delay. But if my daughter wants to go to college, then I would encourage her, hey, to do that right away. Let's do it as efficiently as possible. And efficiency meaning both time and money. Can we save yourself some time? Can we save yourself some money? And even if we don't really trim off the time, one of the things I was saying to her yesterday is, imagine if we can transfer in, let's even say 8 classes, just to make the numbers easy. Well, 8 classes over 4 years would be 2 classes per year. And in fact, like 1 class each semester. So I said, think about this. Your program requires you to take 5 classes your first semester as a freshman and 5 classes in your second semester as a freshman. Imagine if you were bringing in classes and now you only had to manage 4 in fall, 4 in the spring. Then when you became a sophomore, same thing. Instead of 5 and 5, it was 4 and 4. So even if you're not necessarily trimming off time, you're still going to save the cost of those classes that you transferred in. But you also might lighten the load enough where it's like, okay, let's make college manageable. A full-time schedule is just as it sounds, it's full time. And whether that's 4 classes or 5, I'd rather it be 4 if we can make it 4 rather than having to take on that additional 5th class. So different ways to be thinking about helping your children fund the college experience if that's what they end up doing. But also keeping in mind that the trades are way down, meaning the fulfillment of trade jobs is way down because far fewer people go into trade school than ever before. But as a tradesman, whether that's plumbing, electrical, HVAC, mechanic, those are some really well-paying jobs that the education to get into those is a lot shorter and a lot cheaper. So let's not look down our nose at the trades. But as I was saying, if you want or need help kind of mapping some of this out, thinking through different options, go ahead and schedule your free consultation, your free discovery session with me. You can find the link for that in the description below. And if you're not ready to sit down and talk one-on-one, remember that you can join us over on Patreon. You can join the New Money Habits community. You can do that for free and start to engage in conversations like this one there with other people who are not just me. You can also start a membership for as little as $5 a month. Membership will get you access to all sorts of additional tools, resources, videos from more than a dozen coaches who are contributing in all sorts of different areas, including student loan. The student loan coach, Renee, is contributing content there. We have coaches who are contributing content around taxes, around home ownership, around saving and investing, about eliminating debt, money mindset things, and how you think about money. The way you think about money is going to drive the way you behave with your money. So lots of stuff going on in the New Money Habits community. Again, you can join for free or start a membership for as little as $5 a month. Like I said, it's been a busy season. I feel like I had been away for a little while. So it's nice to be back, and I thank you for hanging out with me today. We'll catch you again next time.
That does it for this episode of the New Money Habits podcast. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure to hit us up on social at New Money Habits and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review to help us spread this message of hope to people looking for a better plan for their money.